G'day guys and gal. Everyone knows the poster boys of 40k. The Primarchs with their incredible girth and plot armor. Dante, who wishes his plot armor didn't exist so he could finally die, and Abaddon, the big bad guy that nobody really likes and everyone secretly hopes will die, allowing a much more interesting bad guy to take the helm. Love him or hate him, these characters are well known throughout the 40k community. But what if I told you that there were characters just as cool and interesting, no, much cooler and more interesting than the classic protagonists we've gotten to know? A man who controls the insane death companies of the Blood Angels, a Night Lord who is genuinely likable and engaging despite still being pure evil. These are just some awesome characters from the lore that you may not have even heard about, and if you have, it's unlikely that you understand the true extent of their badassery. And if you do, then let's just jerk off together. Before I bestow upon thee thine gift of discovering and appreciating dope-ass underrated characters, I gotta show you something not underrated. For hitting 300,000 subscribers, I had a 300k Majorkill mini made, the Space Spartan. As they say, all good things come in threes, hence this model comes with 3 head variants and 3 weapon variants all in the one sail, allowing you to come up with various different potential Space Spartans. The best part is as the model is entirely proportionate to official models, whatever helmet and weapon variants you don't use, you can simply kit bash them onto other models to make them significantly more Spartan-y. I mean, if you were to grab this guy, a combat patrol box, and a Asterian Moloch, that's a genuine Minotaur force right there. Despite how much comes with this one model, it's only 30 Australian dollars, which is like 20 American dollars. The catch is I'll only be having him for sale for 1 week starting from today, and after that he is gone. Deleted, destroyed. Not even his STL will be available for download. So if you want to pick up a very limited edition, very awesome model, then now's your chance. Today we'll go over the top 5 underrated characters from Warhammer 40k lore. Not necessarily characters you don't know or appreciate, but legends who deserve the fame and fan praise of some of the most beloved characters in the community, but for some reason they just haven't quite gotten it. Let's get into it. The first dude flying under the radar is Asterath the Grim. Now I can't blame the community too much. The Blood Angels have some dope as hell characters that all steal the spotlight. Like, what other chapter has a lineup that includes Dante, Mephiston, the Sanguinor, and Gabriel Seth? But Asterath more than earns his position amongst the sickest of kitty cats. Here's why. You know how Blood Angels constantly lose their absolute fucking marbles and start hallucinating that they are Sanguinius and that everyone else is Horus? Not the best time for them or their allies. Sure, they get super powerful, but power without direction is as useful as a vegetabilized Arnold in his prime. Hence, Asterath's job is to literally lead the death companies, as they are called, to battle. It's also his directive to cull his own brothers that have fallen to the Black Rage. Hence, this guy has had to duel and kill dozens or even hundreds of vicious powered up Blood Angels, all by himself. To put that into perspective, when Sanguinius died and the Blood Angels all entered into the Black Rage, they sodomized the tits out of the traitor legions. The traitors were like, what the actual fuck is happening? One moment they were driving into the palace, forcing Blood Angel defenders to pull back. The next moment, the Blood Angels were tearing them limb from limb with their bare hands, eating their hearts and ravaging their souls. It's Asterath's job to not only lead these psychos, but also kill them when the time comes. Absolutely badass. In the lore, he's gone up against some heavy hitters, fighting and coming out on top of Gabriel Seth, the chapter master of the legendary Flesh Tearers. He has led his death company to battle, even against Khan the Betrayer. That would have been the battle for the ages, the ultimate berserkers of Khorne versus the ultimate berserkers of the Emperor. With such a burden and a great attitude towards fulfilling it, Asterath is criminally underrated in the setting of 40k. The next underrated character really depends on if you've read the Night Lord's book or not. Talos. Seeing the future as a human is really fucking hard. It's a very rare and unnatural psychic gift for humans, so only a small handful of the most impressive of mankind have the ability. Talos is one of these humans, given the gift by his gene father Conrad Curse. Unfortunately for Talos, Conrad's ability to see the future also slowly turned him insane and caused him to drop all of his marbles. For Talos, it's pretty similar. He seizures like an epileptic at a disco, occasionally kills his own battle brothers, and can be unconscious for weeks. But his kinda shit fortune telling abilities isn't why he's underrated. Talos is likable, which is exceedingly rare for trader marines. Usually they're all like, blood for the blood god, before they stomp on some poor kitten's balls. They are hard to relate to or connect with as an audience because they are sadistic demigods who kill things because they think it is their god-given right to kill things. Talos isn't like that. He is evil for sure, but he is rarely needlessly cruel. He uses common sense and abides by his own twisted sense of honor. When he infiltrated the Marines' Erin's fortress and began viciously killing the unarmed civilians there, it wasn't because he thought it was fun, it was because he needed to spread fear and terror as a part of his mission. He treats his servants well, telling them stories of his life and even going as far as to kill one of his Space Marine battle brothers because they killed one of his human servants. I'm really impressed with GW's creation of Talos. Usually, if they want to make a trader marine likable, they almost have to make the trader marine turn against the traders and repent his sins. But for Talos, it's the opposite. He hates the Imperium, he kills and tortures its people, and he is a fucking dickhead. But he's no obnoxious mustache-twirling villain who is evil because the plot demands it. Talos wants to follow his father's footsteps and keep his legacy alive. It's complex because by the end of Conrad's life, even he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, so it falls to Talos to try and interpret his father's will. On top of that, Talos is a beast in combat, fighting smart and hard, avoiding poor fights but never backing down if the need arises. He is also ruthless, gutting and slaughtering anyone or anything that tries to fuck with him. Not to mention, he has mad shit-talking game, facing off and insulting the shit out of both Huron Blackheart and Abaddon the Despoiler, the two most powerful Chaos Warlords in existence. Talos is everything the Chaos Legion should be. Evil and ruthless, but actually somewhat justified in their goals and actions, not just evil and cruel for the sake of being evil and cruel. If someone like Talos was War Master instead of Abaddon, I'd be in a constant state of cream. It would be unreal. Now onto a non-Astartes for a change. Crazy, I know. We have Prince Uriel. Now the entire Eldar race could be considered underrated because no one seems to appreciate them like I do. And no, not just because I fantasize about having a big titty Eldar girlfriend. Out of everyone, the Eldar have lost the most, yet still have the most to lose. If they die without their spirit stones, they literally get cock and ball tortured for eternity. Rough gig. However, an underrated character of an underrated race has to be the Prince of Craftworld Liandon. Uriel was a prodigy from day one, quickly rising up the ranks and becoming a legendary yet reckless commander despite his lineage. See, Old Mate was a bastard, bit of a Jon Snow action, with rumours stating that he was born from both the Eldernesh and Ulthalanesh bloodlines. Those were the two most legendary bloodlines in all the Eldar race, so you can kinda see why Destiny would follow this guy around. After clapping some Tyranids, Uriel was given command, but then lost it after he clapped a Chaos Warband, but didn't see the cheeky nuke that got thrown at his craftworld. Gotta keep an eye out for those cheeky nukes. He was blamed with taking the craftworld's defenses away, hence leaving it open to be nuked. As such, he exiled himself, but being the entrepreneur that he was, he decided in exile to form the most powerful and feared Eldar Corsair fleet in the galaxy, as you do. From there, he eventually returned to Liandon to save his craftworld from the Tyranids, taking up the Spear of Twilight and absolutely ruining the Swarmlord with it. Took him only one shot as well. Now the Spear of Twilight is super cursed, hence by taking it, he began slowly dying. For the next decade, the prince led Liandon to victory after victory, until eventually the spear was like, alright buddy, time to tap out, you've had your fun. As Uriel went to go return the spear, hence die, a Harlequin came out of nowhere and was like, we're done. When I say we're fucking done. So Uriel decided not to die, because apparently that was an option, and he continued to wreck shit. He wrecked more shit until he was killed during the 13th Black Crusade after saving Liandon. Again. Good news for him was that the Ynnari were a thing now, hence he was not only revived, but the Spear of Twilight was moulded into its true form, that of one of the legendary Crone Swords that are fated to be the Deathless Lanesh. So now we have Giga Chad Uriel wielding an untainted Crone Sword merged with his soul. The reason why I think he's underrated is that with so few people actually knowing and appreciating Eldar lore, the pool of characters they think of when the Eldar come up is limited. Eldrad, Yvraine, Vect, and maybe Margan Ra would be your go-tos, but others like Uriel genuinely have the power to deck a Primarch and have done so much for the galaxy, but we just don't seem to know much about them. The fourth underrated character we're speaking about today is Huron Blackheart, Lord of the Red Corsairs, and the character that should be War Master instead of Abaddon. Abaddon is a tough bastard for sure, bringing the traitor legions together to achieve great things for Chaos, but he is also hypocritical, deluded, and has a very fragile ego. Huron, on the other hand, has good justification from breaking off from the Imperium and has built an impressive chaotic army from scratch in a short span of time. He respects his men and allies, using them for their purpose and not just as extra meat for the grinder. His plans are methodical and genius, whilst his targets always make sense. Talos had the displeasure of working with both Abaddon and Huron on two different campaigns. Abaddon was a fool, using Talos and his Night Lords as basic frontline cannon fodder despite their expertise in sabotage and terror. As such, the Night Lords achieved fuck all, lost a bunch of soldiers and then left the war. The war then ended in disaster as Imperial reinforcements arrived and drove off Abaddon. Huron, on the other hand, used the Night Lords as first wave saboteurs and assassins against a heavily defended fortress. The Night Lords infiltrated, broke enemy morale before disabling their shields and allowing Huron and his Terminators to teleport into the fortress, achieving an astoundingly easy victory for the Red Corsairs with minimal casualties despite the fortress being one of the most legendary in the Imperium. Another contrast between Abaddon and Huron is that when Talos insulted them, Abaddon shot Talos and then threw him before the Chaos Gods in like a mini tantrum, whilst Huron laughed and appreciated the good banter. What I'm trying to say is that people really need to get around Huron as Abaddon's replacement. If they both got into battle with each other, Abaddon would use overwhelming force, whilst Huron would use his small army in a more surgical, logical way to triumph. That would be really good. If it's not obvious, I really fucking don't like Abaddon. Huron for War Master. Finally, we have Barbarous Danteok as a very criminally underrated character. When we think of heroes of the Horus Heresy, there's Sigismund, Nathaniel Garo, Rylanor, but one of the greatest unsung heroes is Barbarous Danteok. This guy has gone through some serious shit, even before he rose to legend status. He was the only Iron Warrior in his squad to survive a huge Herdu attack, an attack that aged his entire squad to death, making his own physical age around 3,000. Despite his sudden burst of age, the man stayed in active duty, even welding his own helmet to his skull so he could never remove it. When the heresy broke out, he told his Iron Warrior brothers to eat a fat dick, before defending a world against them. When the world was about to fall, he teleported onto the enemy flagship, commandeering it before taking it to Ultramar to aid in that realm's defense. From there, he took command of the Pharos device, a beacon that allowed Ultramar to cut through the warp storm surrounding it. When Curse trapped Gilliman and the Lion and blew up a building around them, it was Danteok who used the Pharos device to teleport them to safety and save their lives. When the Night Lords came to the Pharos device to use it for their own purposes, it was Danteok who overloaded it, killing himself, the device, and the invaders to deny them its use. This guy endured a living hell, turned his back on his traitorous brothers, saved not one but two loyalist Primarchs, guided thousands of loyalists through the warp storms, and he gave his life to prevent the device from falling into the wrong hands. This guy was a legend, contributing just as much to the loyalist victory as heroes like Sigismund and Garo, yet he just doesn't seem to get the same level of praise. Hopefully after today, he gets the pat on the back every Iron Warrior craves. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of... Yep, that's hentai. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more underrated content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!